Here we go. Okay, cool. I think we are recording. So hi guys, it's KJ from Forward Life Coaching. I'm here today with an exciting guest. This is actually my first female guest. So whoop whoop to the girls in the house. Whoop whoop to the girls in the house. Oh, you dance too? Yeah. Yeah. All right. So I am here with Shalon. She is actually the head women's basketball coach for FAMU, Florida A&M University. And I want to tell you a little bit about Shalon because she just has an amazing story, an amazing journey to where she is. And I have my cheat sheets. Now everybody knows I have my little cheat sheets on here. So basically she went to Taylor High School. Am I correct?
Yep, that's right.
Okay, she attended Taylor High School in Addiston. Okay, Addiston, Ohio. And there she actually received the Nike and Parade Magazine All-American Honors. Mm-hmm. Okay. USA Today, she was listed as one of the top 20 scholastic players, and Naismith High School Player of the Year finalist. Mm-hmm. So the Naismith, you can explain to me later, but I don't understand the Naismith, but Taylor High School. So did you go to two different high schools?
Oh no, Naismith is a national award for the best high school player in the country. So
you're one of the top 20 in the country?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Get it, girl. I didn't know that. All right. So look, I might need your autograph after this. Oh, no. Just remember the little people along the way. So she went on to play at the University of Tennessee. And at the University of Tennessee, she played for one of her favorite coaches, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And when she played for Pat Summitt, she was actually she was a letterman 4 years in a row. Okay. And she was in 4 NCAA tournaments, 2 Final Four.
Yes.
And she was a psychology and communications major. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Then she went on to the WNBA.
Briefly, yes.
Look, you were there, right? You got the jacket, you got the letter, you got the logos, you got the number. She was in the WNBA. She played for the Tennessee Fury. Am I correct?
That's right.
Okay. And then she was a camp director for Ohio's girls basketball report. Mm-hmm. And then she went on to Hofstra, Long Island.
That's right.
Yes. Well,
South Florida first.
Okay, South Florida. Okay, South Florida. I got South Florida, Tampa. I thought it came afterwards. Okay, but you were Hofstra, Long Island. I have to tell you something. So I'm from New Jersey, and so when I went to UNC Chapel Hill, there were a group of people from Long Island, right? Mm-hmm. And they all played what?
Rugby or lacrosse.
Lacrosse. They all played lacrosse. That was the wildest thing to me. I talk a lot. So I was trying to watch the game and I would talk and then I would miss like the whole, a whole segment trying to find the ball because the ball just moved so fast.
I mean, they played lacrosse. That's the first exposure I really had to lacrosse. Like I've seen it, but like to actually go and watch matches and games and stuff was my first experience. It's fun to watch.
Oh my God. It was so cool. It was so intense. Well, I watched it at night. Mm-hmm. So just imagine the ball going back and forth at night and me talking. So I think they didn't invite me back to any more games after that. But anyway, then you went on to University of Kentucky. You coached at the University of Kentucky. Am I correct?
That's right.
And you had you were at 2 straight NCAA tournaments. They were ranked 25 in the AP polls. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Actually, we went to 6 straight NCAA tournaments while I was there.
Wow.
We won an SEC championship as well. And I think 2 Elite Eights and 2 Sweet 16s, I believe. Something like that.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly.
That intensity, man. That intensity of play. I love it. Then there was a school record tying league wins of 137 wins and 39 losses.
Yeah. I mean, we were the best team to come through there since the 80s, I believe. So we broke a lot of records.
Wow. That's like the reverse of my field hockey team in high school. one season nobody scored any goals. Mm-hmm. So because we never scored a goal, but I'm sorry, not one season, one game. no one scored the goal, right? And I don't know why there was no tiebreaker. I don't know what happened there. There was no tiebreaker. But we went home. We were screaming, going crazy on the bus. I think we played against Columbia High School. I know we did. I remember this game because it was 2 Reds. So we played against Columbia High School and nobody scored. And I think they were trying to talk about the tie or something like, we're like, no, get on the bus, get on the bus. So I don't know if that was my junior or senior year, but there was only one game that we tied, but we lost every single game. So you kind of had the flip of my field hockey record. Then it says University of Kentucky, 5 years NCAA tournaments, 3 Elite 8, and the SEC championship.
Yes.
Okay. And Middle Tennessee University. Oh, at Middle Tennessee University, you coach Alex Johnson?
Yeah.
Alex Johnson. It says that she received 9 out of the top 10 all-time categories. She won in 9 of them under your tutelage. Yes. And Gabby Lyon, you coach Gabby Lyon, you coach Jordan Majors and Cheyenne Parker, like the Cheyenne Parker.
Yeah.
Wow.
For a year, she was there. She was a senior my first year there. So yeah, okay. She's with Atlanta in Atlanta right now. She just left Chicago and got picked up by Atlanta.
Wow. Well, I really do need your autograph now.
Cheyenne's autograph. That's probably worth more.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to say once again, thank you so much, Shalon, for joining me today. I wanted to talk about a subject in particular, and that is going from a small town to a big city, which can be overwhelming for a lot of people because there is a difference in, customs and communication and, tradition and, all these different things where, like I said, sometimes you're from a smaller town and it's a little bit more nurturing, I guess you could say, initially, because everybody there. So I wanted to start off with, even though, Pat Summitt was your favorite coach, I wanted to hear a little bit about your 3rd grade coach.
Listen, I have another coach that I like a little better than Pat. And that's
okay. Is that your 3rd grade coach?
Like, it's 1A and 1B. My dad is 1A, Pat's 1B, but I can't leave my dad out.
So what was it like playing for your dad?
Intense. It took me a while to understand that the difference between dad and coach, because my dad's an intense guy. He's 6'4", deep voice. And when he's yelling at you, it's just like, it takes you back a little bit. And I had to realize, okay, you're correcting me. You're teaching me. I'm not in trouble. Like if I were to miss curfew or something like that at home. So it took me a minute because he coached me from 3rd grade all the way through high school.
I know.
Yeah. So I always joke about it because my teammates would always say like, oh, so I hate when we lose because coach gets so mad. I was like, well, yeah, you guys get to go home and forget about it. We're breaking down film. We're eating dinner. And he's got salt and pepper shakers out and moving and they're different players. I'm like, I don't get to escape it. You get to go home and do whatever you want. And we're still talking about the game the whole night. So, but yeah, it's great. We have a great relationship. And a lot of that is based around basketball.
Wow. So when did you figure, like, because my understanding is that Addystown didn't have a girls team.
Right.
So you and your dad actually worked on starting a brand new team.
Right. So that's where we started. He and another man in our town had a boys team. So dad had me play with the boys team since there wasn't a women's team. And then for some reason, the very next year, they started a girls' league. I think it's because they got tired of me beating up on their boys. So I was still the tallest kid on the court, when I was playing against boys. Yeah.
So wait, when did you have your growth spurt? Because I saw 6'3".
Yeah, I've always been tall. I've always been the tallest. I think between 5th grade and 6th grade is when I had my biggest spurt. I went from like maybe 5'6" to almost 6 feet over that period.
Wow.
Yeah, I hit 6 feet when I got to 6th grade. And I mean, it was painful. My joints, my knees and everything were very, very painful, but that was my biggest spurt. And then I gradually grew a little bit after that. So I'm about 6'3.5", 6'4" now.
What did you do what kind of stretching exercises or,
Man, the doctor I had a whole sheet of stretches I had to do and resistant bands and everything to try to relieve the pain a little bit. But I was a kid. I didn't know. I just played through it. There was some nights that I was sore, but I had ice baths and ice bags and whatever we had to do to get through it. So.
And your dad stayed on top of it.
Absolutely. My dad stayed on top of everything. And my mom stayed on top of everything academically. My dad stayed on top of everything athletically.
And with the video camera.
Yes. Man, you did do your homework. You're on.
The mom was taping everything, right?
That was the best way to keep her mouth shut. When she didn't have the camera, she would get too into the game and yelling and everything. So she said, it's best for me to stay behind the camera because she didn't hear other parents talk about her husband or her daughter in the stands and things like that. She just focused on videoing. And that way she stayed out of trouble.
Yeah, because mom played basketball and she said if you played her style, then you'd be in trouble. There'd be some competition up in the house.
That's right. That's exactly what she said.
So mom was talking junk.
And still talking junk because they played 6-on-6 back in the day. So they had like a rover and it was just a different type of basketball. It wasn't physical at all. So she ended up playing volleyball was her sport and track and field, but she said basketball, man, she's still a basketball junkie. This is her holiday right now. She's in front of the TV watching all the men's basketball games, all the women's basketball games. She loves March.
Well, you didn't have a choice.
No, I didn't.
There was no A and B. It was just A.
No.
Excuse me, can I please have the multiple choice? A. Basketball. So yeah, that was like my daughter ran track, right? And so when I ran the mile. But my mom was very very prissy, very dainty, and she was not like into the sports. Although she was a beast when she played basketball against my dad. She was very dainty and she didn't want me to run, right? So I ran, but I was never like that true athlete like a lot of people are. My coach would say, Kellye, I need you to come in second. I need you to get 3 points. Kellye, I need you to come in first. I need you to get 5 points. And you know what? And that was it, right? Yeah. There was no strategy. You do the kick at this point and, and you turn up and you do 60% and 80%, none of that. Mm-hmm. 3 points, go get it. Okay. Right. And so my daughter, I ran the mile. My daughter ran the 1500, right? Which is 100 yards less.
Yeah.
So as my daughter's finding how good she was, she actually placed 8th in the nation in the 1500, right? Mm-hmm. She was bragging about her time. And I said, but Blake, I ran the mile. I didn't run the 1500. If I ran the 1500, I would beat you. So we would always go at it. So we used to race walk. Uh-huh. And as long as we race walk, I could beat her in the race walk, but I could never beat her running. Yeah, I couldn't beat her running, but yeah, we used to talk so much junk up in the house before the meets and stuff like that. And
that makes it fun.
Yeah, I think that was what motivated her to run harder because she had like family members, like my ex-husband's sister was a great runner, so she's always like, I gotta beat this mark, gotta beat this mark, gotta beat this mark, gotta beat this mark. And so I remember when we went to the National Junior Olympics, she said, I'm gonna get a medal. And so she thought there were 3, first, second, third, because for conference and state or whatever it was, state and whatever it was 3, right? Mm-hmm. So she looked at the podium and she said to her coach, she said, why are there 8 spaces? He said, oh, Blake, this is not like regionals. There's 8 medalists. She looked at me, she said, oh, Ma, I'm going to get a medal. I said, what, girl? Yeah. She got a medal too. She placed herself in 8 and she didn't let, the girl behind her tried to take over and she was like, this is 8. She counted 8 and she did it. So there's nothing like that family fun, like when it's fun and exciting. And like I said, you've got all that nurturing and everything. And then you decide to go to the University of Tennessee, mm-hmm. right?
Yes.
Not a small town like Addison.
No, opposite. I mean,
no mom, no dad laughing and joking. What are you thinking when you went on your campus visit? Like, what are you thinking when you walk on that campus?
It was huge. I mean, My graduating class had 98 kids in it, I believe.
Holy jeez.
There was only like 500 kids in the school. We didn't have locks on our lockers, anything. Everybody knew everyone. It was just, I mean, the small town living. Seriously, my dad, he was my high school coach, but before I started playing, he was the mayor of Addison. And then he was coaching and he was involved with me. And afterwards, he became mayor again for another 20 years. So, I mean, everybody knows everybody and everybody knows Danny Pillow's kids. And it was just small town. So when I got to Tennessee, it helped that I was on a team. So I was lucky enough because I was a student athlete, but I tell a student that's not a student athlete to try their best to get involved, like find their niche, find something because that makes that big picture kind of small, that something you can manage, and then from there branch out. So I was lucky enough to have my teammates who all experienced, they were able to show me around. But then you have these lecture halls that's a auditorium, and it's no raising your hand asking a question. It's email the professor, set up an appointment to go talk to him or her. And it's just like, that was super overwhelming because, again, I had 500 people in my school, period. So it was nothing. You could probably call the teacher at home. If I really needed to get help with a math problem, my dad probably knew the teacher. It could call him at home to get help. So that was the biggest difference coming from small town to big town, just the classes, and campus was huge. I mean, my legs were sore the first week of just walking around campus because it was as big as my town. It was not bigger. But I adjusted fine. I'm a people person, so I didn't have a problem branching out, meeting people outside of basketball and outside athletics eventually once I got my bearings. So overall, it was a good experience, but I would encourage anybody, just find your niche. If you're into math, get into a math club. They have clubs for everything. If you're into dance, get into a dance club. If you're into whatever you're into, there's a club for it. And you can find people that have experienced the same experience, has the same likes, and you have instant friends already just from there.
Wow. Did you ever think that there was a big cultural difference, like versus, certain norms or certain expectations in Ohio, small city, versus Tennessee, big city?
Yes, but I think I was too naive to realize it because.
Hello?
Have me.
I'm sorry, you said you're too naive to realize it, and then what did you say?
Oh, so small town, Addison is right on the Ohio River, small town. So Knoxville, I mean, it's a bigger town, a bigger city, of course, but again, it was a college town. So it was nice that I didn't have to drive 15, 20 minutes to go to the mall or to Walmart and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
Because you didn't have a car.
Right. And then I was the tallest person in school. I'm 6'4", went to a predominantly white high school. So, and then the girls that I grew up with, they weren't basketball players. Like, they played basketball, but like, I was into basketball. So I ended up hanging out with guys a lot because we had some of the same interests. We would go play all night on the playground or whatever, things like that. And then I get to college and there's more girls like me who like basketball and will play all day. And then there's guys who, I guess, saw me as a girl, as a woman, because I was such a tomboy and I was hanging out with the boys all the time. I was always, even before high school, I was always playing in the creek or like playing in the dirt, stuff like that. I was just a tomboy. So it was the first time I got like real attention from the opposite sex, and like, oh my God, who's that girl with the green eyes? I was like, what? Who? What? I didn't even realize I had green eyes. Like, honestly, it was just like, I play basketball, like, leave me alone, whatever. So that was another difference, going from a small town to going to Tennessee, who at the time was Peyton Manning just left. T. Martin was there. I mean, we had NFL players walking around campus. It was just totally different because these were huge human beings, and I'm used to being the tallest person around. So another huge difference.
Wow. So you stood out.
Big time. Yeah.
I remember I used to work for Days Inn, and we had a reservation facility in Knoxville, Tennessee. So I would do a lot of training programs in Tennessee. And I remember in Knoxville, I remember the first time I went, it was like everything was orange.
Oh, yeah.
It was like I saw an orange fire truck.
Yeah. If you don't like orange, you don't need to be in Knoxville.
I saw orange everything. I was like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness.
The McDonald's is orange.
Orange happens to be my favorite color, so I was cool with it. It was one of my favorite colors. Actually, I went to Carolina and I wore an orange leather jacket, and by mistake I wore it to a Clemson game because I didn't really, understand. But yeah, I know. So they told me go home. But I loved orange, and when I went there, I just remember seeing orange everywhere. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, the town is embedded in it, and it was really cool, a really cool experience because I think that brought the town and the students closer together. You know what I mean? Everybody was so supportive. And even when I went to the call center, the reservation center, they had like all of the UT stuff all over the place. And
yeah, it's a ghost town. Football season, during a football game, there's no one around. I mean, everything, if you want to get anything done at the mall or something, you don't have to wait in line for something, you do it during a football game because it's really a ghost town. Like the whole city shuts down. And the bars might have people watching the game, either you're tailgating, but like outside the campus area, ghost town.
So did you get special tickets as a player?
No, just student tickets. I mean,
but you're not guaranteed tickets because you're a player?
No. You had to go through the same process and swipe your ID card, and you had to make sure you swiped it on time. If you didn't, you would get left off the list. So you're at UT, right? And you're finding your niche, you're finding your groove, etc. And while you're there, you're starting to think like, wait a minute, I think I can do this basketball thing. I mean, like I like this, and I'm good, and I'm finding, I can be in the game, etc. Maybe I can play pro. So that is the biggest thing. Coming from high school to college. Like in high school, you're the man, hands down. Then you get to college and everybody's a man. Like you just don't go to Tennessee because you're okay. Everybody is good or as good or better than you. And so that was an adjustment. Like you just can't, there's no days off. You have to work hard constantly, or you're going to lose your spot, or you're not going to play, or you're going to get recruited over. So,
and you can't even say my dad's Danny Pillow.
Right. Exactly. Nobody cares. No, nobody cares at all. So that gives you an edge automatically, like preparing to go to the next level, because Coach Summit ran it as if you're going to be a professional. Practices ran, she treated you as a professional. So you're already in training for that. And even if you weren't a top player on the team, they knew that you were under Pat Summit. They knew that you were brought up a certain way and you carried yourself a certain way, and that will give you a boost and a little help automatically.
You're coachable, you're trainable.
Absolutely. You're going to be professional. You're not going to be into crazy stuff off the court or anything like that. Like there's a standard. So after college playing, I didn't play a lot my senior year. We had some better players than me that were younger and got more playing time. And that's just kind of part of the business and part of the game. And I wasn't really sure.
Was it humbling? Was it humbling?
The whole experience at Tennessee is humbling. Just like I said, you think you leave as one of the best players in the country. You're in a small town. Again, everybody knows you. Everybody's, excited and around this whole city because I'm right outside of Cincinnati. So in the whole city of Cincinnati and everything, everybody knows who you are. And, but then you got people like Tamika Catchings and Shamika Holsclaw that you're playing with who are Hall of Famers, like basketball Hall of Famers. And that's humbling to begin with, especially with Shamika Holsclaw was at the height, she was coined as the female Michael Jordan and had a whole bunch of attention. nationally. So it's humbling, like, automatically. But
Is
so
that when you told?
sure.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I wasn't sure that I wanted to play anymore because, I mean, I went there, I got my degree, I was ready to be normal, working 9 to 5, you know, have a family, things like that. And basketball just kept on coming in, and I kept on getting opportunities. And I was saying that must be what God has intended for me, because these opportunities wouldn't keep on presenting themselves if I wasn't done. So that's how I ended up getting a tryout. I went to the combine for the WNBA, tried out for the Charlotte Sting, and didn't make the final roster, but still had that opportunity. Went overseas for a little bit, played in France.
Oh, I didn't have that in the thing. You played in France?
I did. I played in Lyon for a little bit, not long.
I was told that experience in playing overseas is so cool, because you are there, and I mean, not there, you are here, you get the call, and you have like X amount of time to like get on the plane.
It was wild. It was wild, because I had been to France a couple of times before, but I was with teams. So I was like, oh, cool. Like, I've been to France before. It's going to be fun, but it's different because you're with all your American friends, and you have your tour guide, and you have all this going on, and then you're there by yourself, and maybe the only American on your team. I didn't speak French. I took Spanish all through high school and college, and it was just kind of lonely.
I took French.
Oh, I could have had to come with me. I would have had a friend in it.
Only next time.
Right. So that it takes a special mindset to play overseas. It takes a special type of person to play overseas. I have a lot of friends that played for years, and I mean, I didn't have that mindset. I like to be home. I love my family, and just being that far away and just no one to lean on, really. It was, that was tough. So I came back home, and then that's when I played for Tennessee Fury for the I forget the name of the league, WNBL. It's kind of like the WNBA plays in the summer. Mm-hmm. So for those WNBA players who don't want to play overseas during the regular basketball season, and those who are aspiring WNBA players, they play. So I got to play. Becky Hammond was on my team. I got to play against Cheryl Swoops and Tina Thompson. So like, it was a solid league. It was a really good league, and that was a great experience as well.
Wow. So I just want to ask you really quickly, when you were in France, you said you had no one to lean on, but you did create some type of safety net or some type of support. What did you do mentally, socially, physically, whatever? What did you do to make it through until your season ended?
Well, the phone bill back to Addison was ridiculous. I mean, I was home. I didn't complete the season. I didn't finish the season.
Wow.
So I didn't cope, to answer. Really, it's not, we're talking about 2002. There's no Skype, there's no FaceTime, there's just pay phones and phone cards. So now it's a lot different. I might be able to do it now, because I mean, technology is so much different and so much easier to communicate and stay in touch and see family and friends, even though you're across the world, mm-hmm. not just the country. So I wasn't ready. I thought I was. I'm all about an adventure. Like, let's go. It's not the same as just a foreign tour with your team. It's totally different.
A beginning with a start and an end.
Right, exactly.
Like a week. But
right.
But you're saying a week, but I'm looking at your record, and you've been in New York, you've been in Kentucky, you've been in Tennessee, Florida, someplace I can't think right now, but you've been to all these different states, etc., places. So somewhere along the lines, even though you're from Addison, Ohio, or Addie, tell me, say it again for me.
It's Addison.
Addison. Even though you're from Addison, Ohio, a small town, somewhere along the way, you came up with something powerful to help you go from place to place. And I can tell you right now, I know Long Island has a very, very strong culture.
Yeah.
Very, very strong culture. So if you were able to fit in that area and so many different other places, and I'm going to cheat for a second. I looked at your player roster. You have players from Georgia, New York, Ohio, California, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Florida, Kentucky. You have players from all over the place. And I'm thinking maybe, and I don't know, in the recruiting process or in the recruiting season, there's something that you learned in traveling to all those different places that helps you in recruiting and helps people feel comfortable leaving their hometown and trusting you.
It helps that I've been to a lot of different places. That helps me connect with a lot of different type of people. Like you said, I was at Hofstra. I have a kid from New York. I could talk, when I recruited her, I could talk about, oh man, I miss the delis. I love going to the deli. Like you can go to the deli and get anything. You know, we don't have that.
Did you ever go to Harold's Deli?
Is that the one? Is it in
with the big sandwiches?
No, I know what you're talking about, but I never went. No. Yeah. I loved it. I loved New York. I wasn't even there a whole year or right around a year. And I was just getting like my niche and comfortable. And then I got an opportunity at Kentucky that I couldn't pass up, but I loved it. But back to your question. I'm sorry. I was about to go.
It's okay.
Yeah, just being able to connect with people, living in a small town, I can connect with small town people, have an opportunity to live in New York and ride a train and go into the city. I can relate to big city things and just, and then the different type of teams, like you meet so many different type of personalities and people with so many different backgrounds, and just you learn from them and their experiences. So again, I told you before, I'm a people person. I love to hear people's stories. I love to hear how people got to where they are, things that they went through, and just everybody has a different story. Everybody has a different path. I might have somebody, we're in the same exact space, but we took totally different roads to get there. And that's very intriguing. That's, I guess it's psychology part, the psychology in me that just loves, to understand like people and how they came about and why they are the way they are and all those type of things.
Yeah. My dad, he was a tobacco farmer, and he was very big on, he did not like stereotypes. So he went to New Jersey, and he after he graduated from high school, he wanted to be a bus driver. After he graduated from high school, he went to New Jersey, and he was actually on a bus going to my grandfather's church, because my grandfather was a Pentecostal pastor in Newark, New Jersey. And I'm talking about like all the way, but like, don't cut your hair, don't wear makeup, don't play cards, don't wear pants if you're a woman, like that kind of Pentecostal. Everybody speaks in tongues, etc. So he's on the bus going to my grandfather's church, and while he's on the bus, my mother gets on the bus.
Uh-huh.
And when he saw her, he said, "That's my wife." He said, "No, that's it." So he wound up going to my mother's church. He was like, "Yeah, that's the church that I go to." I went to the church they went to. And he wound up putting himself through college and becoming a financial analyst on Wall Street. But the thing is, people took a chance on him because even though he had that degree, he still had that Southern twang. There were a lot of Southern mannerisms and stuff like that. And so what my dad always said is, he does not like looking at the exterior of a person. He wants to know their story. Mm-hmm. He wants to go deeper. And so my dad was very, very big on, as you said, getting to know people as individuals, because everybody has a unique story. Everybody has a unique interest. And you know what I mean? So the way to do that is to experience more, like go to more cities, get more things in your repertoire, so that you don't think that people can only fit into this box.
Right. That's funny. My mom grew up in a town called Ripley, Ohio, and it's a huge tobacco town. So all my cousins and my grandpa, tobacco season, like school was shut down and they're out there cutting tobacco. So I know that's hard work. I mean, that is something else. That builds a lot of character for sure.
Yeah. And the family was so close. They had like a lot of cousins and stuff like that, because everybody had to tend to the farm.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad was immersed in the culture. It wasn't like, it was just him or whatever. It was like the whole family, everybody around him, the town, they were all tobacco farmers. So it was all the same.
Yep. Harvest season. That's back to small town, like Ripley, small river town too. And it's like tobacco season. It's 2 weeks and school was shut down. That's when they had their fair, everything. It's just like all around the season.
And my grandmother's from my mother's from a small town called Cherryville, North Carolina. And in Cherryville, like everybody knows everybody. So my uncle and my grandmother used to sit on the porch every night. And there was like a street, it was called Pond Street. And on one side of the Pond Street was everybody white. And on the other side of the Pond Street was everybody black. So if you were black and you wanted to go to the store, you had to go to the white side of town. Mm-hmm. So my grandmother lived 3 houses away from Pond Street. So anybody who went to town on their way back from town, they had to pass my grandmother's house, right? Mm-hmm. So my uncle said, hey. You could walk past my uncle. Hey, where you going, partner? So everybody came to my uncle knew everybody's business, knew everybody's everything, because that was a place where you just sat down and talked. But everybody, it was so nurturing. Like, everybody looked out for everyone. There were no family secrets because everybody knew your business. Mm-hmm. But it was just a very supportive and loving and nurturing environment. And I was just thinking, like, because you're used to that and you're very familiar what it's like to provide that type of nurturing experience, it probably helps you as a coach to then extend that same type of warmth and hospitality to your players.
Most definitely. And that also brings another good point about the transition from small town to like a big town, and even the basketball setting is a business. Like, I'm so used to, like, oh, it's okay, we'll get that, or we'll handle that. Like, it's a competition. Like, we didn't compete in small town. Like, everybody was helping each other out. It was a team. And now you're thrown into, like, this is almost cutthroat. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, nobody cares about your feelings. Nobody cares about anything except for whatever their goal is. They're trying to get that no matter what. And that's something it took me years to develop, not a cutthroat mentality, but like to understand everybody's not your friend. Like back home, everybody.
And it hurts. Doesn't it hurt?
Yes. I mean, it took me so long to figure it out. Like, cause I mean, oh yeah, I got you, I'll help you. And then those people wouldn't be there when you needed help or something like that. Cause I'm just so used to everybody looking out for everyone. I mean, we didn't have locks on our doors for the longest because, it's real small town living. So, I had to get a little harder, a little tougher, when it came to the stuff like that, and realizing that everybody's not your friend. Everybody doesn't have your best interest in mind, so it only comes with experience. You only get burnt so many times before you start getting that thick skin and learning how to navigate it.
Yeah. And I'm the youngest in my family, like the youngest cousin, youngest everything. So I always had to be more accommodating and do for everybody else. So because I was always more accommodating, like, like whatever my cousins wanted to do, because they had the car or they had whatever, I always had to do that. So I was so used to doing what everybody else wanted to do, until finally, for my story is, I don't know if it's a matter of getting tougher, but it was like, God, what do you want to do? And that was kind of deep for me to figure out what I wanted to do, because I was so used to doing what everybody else did, because that made everybody else happy.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So I'm the youngest too. I'm the youngest in my family. I have one cousin that's a couple years younger than me, but background. So there's 3 of us that came really late. So my sister's 12 years older. My brother's 9 years older. And then there's my 3 cousins that we're the same age, and another one's a little younger. That's like a second generation within the generation. So like our second cousins, we're closer to our second cousins because they're our older cousins' kids and stuff like that. So I understand what you're saying. It's just like, in my household, my sister was like my second mother, because she was off to college, and, when she came home, she was doing her own thing. She started college when I started kindergarten. My brother was like, he must have been a junior or sophomore in high school when I started kindergarten. So that's why my dad and I are so close, because we had basketball and we were traveling together all the time because everybody else was gone. But yeah, it's just like, you just got to go with the flow. You just do whatever is happening. So
as you go with the flow, I read a comment, and I don't know where I'm going to see if I can find it. I read a comment that you wrote, and it said, it was on the website where they were talking about it's the women's program. It's the Women's and Girls Day in Sports.
Oh yeah.
National Girls and Women in Sports Day.
Mm-hmm.
And your comment was, there are countless opportunities in sport. Of course, we can play sports, but we can also own teams.
Mm-hmm.
There was more to that. There was more at the end of that quote. What do you think is the next goal for you? Would you own a team? Would you coach your girls to own a team? Do you think that?
Definitely would coach my girls to own a team. Definitely. There's just endless possibilities. And too often, since there's no one to look up to doing that type of stuff, we don't think about it. We don't think about owning teams, because how many WNBA or NBA owners do you see on the forefront and like in social media or what have you? Or like there's this young lady who just owns a baseball team. I can't remember which baseball team. I want to say it's Tampa Bay, but that's the first woman's owner I've ever seen. You know, there's Marge Schott coming up, but she was a manager. She wasn't the owner, I don't think, like back in the day when I was in Ohio with the Cincinnati Reds. But you just don't see it. And then add on people of color. You don't see women of color doing a lot of those things either. So I'm at HBCU now. I deal with women of color all the time. So I want them to know there's opportunities out there, and you might be the first one to do it. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're going to help the next person. There's somebody before me that was a Black female coach. Vivian Stringer is the Black women's head coach in women's basketball that everybody looks up to. You know, she was the first successful one. So why not be the first owner? Why not be the first whatever it is? Because anything's possible. You just got to step outside your comfort zone and be ready to fight the fight, and don't give up on it. You can do it. So yes, to answer your question, definitely coach my student athletes to do whatever they want to do. I would never tell someone they couldn't do something unless you have a 1.0 and you want to be a neurologist. Maybe I would tell you to maybe look at something else. But like, as far as having big dreams, like, yeah, go for it. Just be willing to put the work in to make those things happen. Because
you are the epitome of big dreams and the untraditional. You know, yeah. A lot of times when you think of small towns, sometimes people will go to a smaller school, mm-hmm. you know, because it mimics what they're used to.
Right.
But you've gone, like I said, to many different places, experienced many different people, you know, brought a very eclectic type of insight with regards to people, to what you're doing. And like I said, I just love the fact that you put that opportunity out there, or put that in writing, saying, look, you know what, we can also own basketball teams. Because I think sometimes we get so used to, or so stuck in the tradition, mm-hmm. that we forget that there's another level, or there's another opportunity.
Exactly. And I'm guilty. My biggest weakness probably is being in the comfort zone. And even though that comfort zone might start as uncomfortable, like once I get it and figure it out, I'm like, oh, I got it now. I'm good. We're going to hang out here for a little bit, you know, instead of, okay, what's next? I'm a strong believer in growing where you're planted. And sometimes I allow myself to outgrow it before moving on. I just get so connected, and I love to see success. I get connected to the players and want to, like, oh, I don't want to leave before she graduates, and then there's another class coming in, or whatever the case may be. So sometimes I have to sit back and like, take your own advice. Okay, Shalon, what is next for you? Like, I get so engaged and engulfed in like what's in front of me that sometimes I forget. Like, you have to plan big. It's worked out for me, not, but maybe it would have happened sooner if I would have been like more intentional and like actually working instead of this being so engulfed in the task at hand. So that's something I have to get better at, as managing present and future at the same time.
But no time is wasted. Sometimes you just have to go deeper, so that when you move to the next plateau, that you have more depth of knowledge, you know, more depth of experience. Because sometimes we can go there and have you know, a dusting of experience or a dusting of insight, and then we fall at every whim because we just weren't prepared, you know,
Right.
that grounding. So if someone were to say, hey, look, you know what? I just listened to that interview with, you know, Shalon Pillows, and she's dynamic, you know, she can get me no matter where I come from because she has this vast, you know, experience of working in so many different geographic regions. And, you know, she's been overseas. And so she could probably help me with getting overseas. And she's played in the WNBA. So she knows what it takes to get into the WNBA, and she knows about, you know, the camps and all this other kind of stuff. I would really, really like to play for her. I'd like to just introduce myself to her.
Mm-hmm.
What would they do? What do you look for in the applicants?
What do I look for? I am looking for good people first and foremost. I'm gonna spend time on the front end to get to know you, get to know your background, before I bring you into our team, because our team is precious, and I want to be surrounded around good people who want to do good things. So there's some programs, and not knocking them, there's nothing wrong with this. Some people are equipped to handle it. I'm not, but some people will take a chance on a, let's say, bad apple because they can score 25 points, but they have a terrible attitude. They're not good teammates, but they rather take the points than the good person. I'm not in that business, because too oftentimes that bad apple gets all the attention, and the people who are doing everything right, like, oh, well, she's good, she's doing it right, they don't get the attention. Those people need attention too. Those people need encouragement. And I think that helps push them to the next level, to where their goals are. Of course, most people who don't get in trouble are self-sufficient, but just think about having that extra support and that extra help can even make them a better person or even more prepared. So good people, first of all. Good students, second of all. FAMU has high academic standards. They're higher than what the NCAA requires. So you have to have good grades, definitely. And I just want kids also who realize that basketball is your tool. A lot of kids that come to HBCUs aren't always looking to go play at the next level. Some are, some not, but the majority of them are there for education. And basketball is your tool. So use us as much as we're using you. We demand a lot on the basketball court, but demand stuff from us in the university as well. We have a huge alumni base. We can get you connected with anybody you want to get connected with in your field. And we can do that early. Start building your network. That's something that I'm huge on. I want kids that can come in and balance the schoolwork, do their basketball, and still find time and manage their time enough to get involved in something outside of basketball. Because when I left college, my resume said I played basketball and I worked some camps. And I'm trying to get a job competing against people who were in sororities and did internships and were involved in all this kind of stuff. And I don't want my kids to go out and not be prepared for life after basketball. So I want them to have a network. I want them to have a resume with some substance and be able to compete with anybody else going for a job in their particular field.
And so how would they convey that to you? Do they convey that to you through videos, through what's on the resume, through an in-person interview? How can they best?
The recruiting situation is different because of COVID. Usually we're out and going to high schools and going to AAU tournaments and things like that. But mostly people send us their film. They can go onto our website to FAMUathletics.com and go to the women's basketball. And then there's a place for prospective student athletes, and you can send your information in that way.
And then how do you respond to them typically?
Letter? Through email. Mostly. If they email us, we email them back. Yeah. Okay. And go through that way. But it helps to have game footage, since we can't come see you play. I would stay away from highlight films because highlights are just that. You can put together a few good clips and make yourself look like Kobe Bryant, but like we need to see a whole game so we can see what you're good at and what you're poor at and how you would fit into our system.
Yeah. So that's like me in basketball. So like every once in a while I can hit, but it might take me like 20 shots sometimes to hit. Sometimes I can hit it, you know, on the first, second, or third, but sometimes it might take me like 20 shots. So like if somebody's taping me doing the 20 shots, I'll be like, don't, delete that one, delete that one, delete that one, delete one. So you would get number 20, right?
Exactly.
So if I could give you 5 number 20s, I'm looking like, you know, Cheryl Swoops.
Exactly. Like, think she don't miss.
Oh, son, huh? What you want?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So if you were to give someone, prospective student, somebody who is, or prospective student, or somebody who's even in college, who's saying like, look, you know what, I'm not sure about this big city environment, or I'm not sure about how to move forward, etc. If you were to give them some advice, I know you said join the clubs. I know you said, you know, find your niche in there. Is there anything else that you can think of off the top of your head that might be like a little secret thing? And I will just add this. I remember my freshman year of college, and I was in college when Noah built the ark, you know, like I helped him put the screws in the ark. So that's like how old I am. But when I was in college, I remember my first semester, I cried the whole first semester. I said I was going home. I was not going to stay here. I was going home. And I remember I went home for Christmas break, and my mother said, if you would please just stay until the end of the year. I will, you know, I'll talk to you every single night, you know, if you need me to, if you could just stay until the end of the year. And I'm so grateful that she did, because when I went back the second semester, first semester, I didn't care what I did. I didn't care how I got out, but I wanted to get out. The second semester, I was ready to listen a little bit more. And then my sophomore year, I was ready to learn.
Right.
But if somebody's going through that challenge where they're just like, they're not feeling comfortable where they are, you know, what was your point of leaving France, or what was your point of staying at Tennessee, or, you know, what was that point, or that?
Well, I just think that at Tennessee, I was only 4 hours away from home. Like, I was far enough that I couldn't just like hop in a car unannounced or anything like that. But I was still close enough that if it was emergency, or if I had to get home, I can get home. That's not happening in France. Like, it's not, you have to plan that out. It's going to cost you a good amount if it's like on a whim, like, oh, I'm going to go home this weekend. That's just not happening. And I don't know. It's just, I said before, it's not for everybody. And that's the advice I would give. Like, I love the fact that your mom made you stay a whole year, because that is something that I think this generation lacks. It's so easy just to say, I don't like it, and stop. Like, I'm over this. I don't know if you're familiar with the transfer portal, but the transfer portal is, if you're not happy at the school you're currently attending, you go into the portal, and then you can go anywhere you want. There's no repercussion. There's nothing. You used to have to sit out a year. They're about to pass a rule that you don't have to sit out. You can transfer and play immediately. And it's just different, because I remember calling home similar to your situation and saying, oh, this is so hard. Like, oh my gosh, I should have just stayed and went to the University of Cincinnati. I should have did this or whatever. And Dad said, is that what your goal was? Is that what you worked for, to stay home? I don't think so. That's not what your goal. Remember your purpose. Why did you stay all those nights and do all those extra shots and stuff? Like, push through. And then, like, if it wasn't going to happen, it wasn't going to happen. But at least I gave it a fair chance. For me, it worked out. Somebody else, it just might not be your thing. That's okay. It's all right. Don't feel like you're a failure because it wasn't for you. I think on the flip side, some people stay too long because they don't want to look like a failure. Oh, I don't want to look like I quit. But sometimes it's just not the right fit. So learning the difference between giving it a fair shot and it just not being there, that's an art. Like, it's different.
And it's really and truly draining you. It really and truly draining you. No, I had 2 situations which were pretty serious my freshman year that made me want to, like, I took a class and they wouldn't let me drop at it and all this other kind of stuff. And so I finally I was finally able to drop out of it because I went through the dean. My mom, when I started school, my mom went and met the minority counselors, right? And she got to know Dean Rimwick really well, who was the head of like the minority division or whatever. And she found out that he liked chitlins and collard greens and all that stuff.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, my mom. They had this thing called People's Airlines. So once a month, she was People's and Piedmont. Once a month, she was at the school, and she was bringing, her friend lived in Raleigh. She was bringing him collard greens and cornbread and chitlins and all this other kind of stuff. So when this particular situation happened at the school, where my teacher, I was in English, and he would not give me a grade. And so I spent the whole semester asking for a grade, and he would not give me a grade on any of my papers. I did them 2 and 3 times. I was just like, I can't deal with this craziness. And so, like I said, she called in and she was able to help me get the class dropped because I could not get any grades. So you can't get a grade at the end of the semester if you don't, I didn't have a 0, I didn't have a 1, I didn't have anything. And it was 2/3 through the semester, and it was pass, drop, add. So, so that was one thing. But then another scenario for me, which is, and I am planned on telling this story, but be authentic, right? So my freshman year of college, my roommate put a rebel flag on the wall. And I'm from New Jersey, and I didn't know what it was. And so my friends in North Carolina were like, oh, that's bad, that's bad, that's bad, that's bad. But I didn't know because we don't do rebel flags in New Jersey. Right. So I went to the library, Davis Library, and I went and found books on Ku Klux Klan because she told me she was Klan. And so I went and read books on Ku Klux Klan. And when I found out how they depict African Americans and how she couldn't like me, or she would not like me, like you said, you know how you feel like you get attached to people, and where I was in New Jersey, everybody was close. My grandmother's house, everybody was close. I thought that this roommate was going to be my friend. Yeah. And when I saw what she thought of African Americans and how she put the flag on the wall, I was distraught mentally. So my first semester was horrific because I couldn't get a grade in a class that I really needed. And I couldn't go to my room because my roommate didn't want me there. Right. So I was just like, I don't want to be here. Right. And eventually what happened was I did this big roommate exchange. It was like 6 different people. We all exchanged rooms and stuff like that. But even with that experience, it didn't feel like home. I still felt a little bit guarded because of what had happened. But even with that guarded sense, my mom was calling every day, coming to visit every month to make sure that I made it through. So she provided that buffer. So my freshman year, and even first semester, my sophomore year, it was tough for me to get in that mode of trusting and you know what I mean? Because college is supposed to be fun. Right. So it's hard for me to get in that mode of trusting and have that exhale experience in college. So yeah.
So what did you learn about yourself through that experience? Like what was something that happened during that time that you carry with you now that has helped you through life?
You are not supposed to be interviewing me. No, I'm just kidding. That was not what we agreed to. But the thing that I've learned is that there's more than one pathway. Yeah. You know what I mean? So at first, everybody's like, some people like go in the room and tell her off. Well, I didn't come from a place where, we don't tell people off. Right. I was the youngest cousin, only child, so I don't tell people off. Right. And the method for me, I'm sorry. And my best friend, I had 2 best friends, one from Goldsboro, North Carolina, another one from Long Island. My best friend attempted suicide and wound up leaving campus and never came back. So I had the incident with my best friend. I had, my class, and I had my roommate. So I'm like, what the heck? Yeah. Where have you got me? But what I learned was there's more than one pathway to move forward, because initially we were trying to do a roommate exchange and she didn't like the roommates and they didn't like her, and etc. So like I said, and the RA said she has a right to put up whatever she wants to put up on the wall. Right. And so I had talked to another classmate and another person, and I don't want to go into all that, but anyway, so the bottom line is I found out that there's more than one way, and never be blinded to think that there's only one solution to get to wherever you're trying to be. Do your research, do your homework. We had to talk to a lot of people. Keep in mind, 6 people change rooms in this process because, you know, everybody was having difficulty with their roommates. And like I said, after about a year and a half, I felt good. Yeah. I just needed some time to get acclimated to the environment and understand what was going on.
Yeah, so. That's big time coming from the north to the south still. I mean, even though there's no Jim Crow or anything like that, it's in 2021, it's still a difference between the north and the south. Definitely.
Yeah. And you know what the amazing thing is that there are so many similarities in the north and the south, so many similarities in the end goal. It's just a matter of how do you get to the end goal. Mm-hmm. Like when I talk to people here in North Carolina, their vision, their goals are really and truly the same as a lot of people back home when I talk to them. Mm-hmm. It's just that the method to get there is different.
Right.
And I think in New Jersey, when we did things, a lot of times it was always a matter of like just putting, I don't know if you remember this work ethic, but they would go to work at 7 o'clock in the morning and stay until 7 o'clock at night.
Right.
And think nothing of it. But then on Friday, you leave work at 2 o'clock and, you know, you have a great weekend. Mm-hmm. And then you come back and you work 7 to 7 and it's that kind of intense, or it might be 7 to 9. It doesn't make a difference, but it's that kind of intensity. Right. So I think that once again, they're trying to get to the same goal in New Jersey as they're trying to get here. It's just a different way of doing it. You know, it's here in the South, everybody talks like you gotta explain it to this person, then you gotta explain to this person, and then you gotta explain to this person. And so it's a lot of talking and relationship building and all of this other kind of stuff. Whereas in New York, it's a lot more of that, like, you know, if this fits into this groove, if this fits into this nut, and da 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 da. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of that configuration. So, but I'm very grateful for the opportunity to experience both. I've never managed people like you with this kind of diverse roster from so many different places. I mean, when I saw that, I just thought that was phenomenal. I mean, that just shows that communications degree.
Both psychology and communications has been very helpful in the coaching career for sure.
Yeah, learning how to work with all different realms. Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this: is there anything that you can think of that we didn't discuss that you would like to share? Once again, just something to help students along the way. If there's anything else that you can think of, I think that we talked about everything because I know I'm talkative, but that can help students who are doing that type of adjustment, who are trying to adjust to college life, to new cultures, whatever it may be.
This is much easier said than done, but what I've learned through life experiences and now being 40 years old, it's just crazy.
Oh, you look good.
Which is crazy. But I was like,
I wasn't
sure if I wanted to even say it. I was like, 40, yes. But, it's just, it took me a while to learn this. Like I said, easier said than done. Be you and be yourself. And people will either like it or they can leave it. Don't try to change yourself or change your morals and values to fit in somebody else's box. And don't let anybody put you in a box. You do you. And that helps you weed out the genuine people and the people who are supposed to be in your life and the non-genuine people. If they don't like you the way you are, then they're just not meant for you. They're not meant to be in your circle.
And there's so many people out there that are just like you. Exactly. You may not have them right away.
Right.
You know, you may not have access to them right away. But as you grow in you and you become more confident in you, it's like a magnet. You'll be attracting them left and right.
Exactly. You know? Exactly. And it's hard because when you're younger, you know, you want to fit in. You want people to like you. Well, at least that was my experience. I wanted to fit in. I want people to like me. I want everybody to be my friend. I didn't understand why. Why would you not like me? I'm so nice. Like, oh my gosh, I didn't do anything to you. Why do you not like me? And it used to bother me. But now that I'm older, I just realized it would have been so much easier because I would have, like you said, attracted the people that were meant for me. And instead of worrying so much about fitting in and being liked, you know, you will get the right people around you and the people that are intended for you will be there. So you, be you, love you, all that good stuff.
And I always say God doesn't create junk. So we all have something amazing to offer if we're in the right environment. If we're in the right environment, it's going to be nurture. But we all have something amazing to bring to the puzzle, something very, very unique, because no two people are the same.
That's right.
You just have to be in the right environment to nourish it, or to nurture it so that it.
So you can blossom.
Yes. Oh. You are so beautiful, Shalon. You are amazing inside and out. I love the fact that you have so much experience and knowledge and exposure, and that psychology degree and everything like that, because right now communication is key. Giving students the opportunity to communicate, giving parents the opportunity to communicate, to make sure that they can get through whatever it may be, COVID, whatever it may be, get through the scenarios. So you are bringing a dynamic. Ooh.
Okay.
What accent was that? what country is that? Wait a minute. You are bringing a dynamic opportunity to the table. I wish you so well this upcoming season. And you ready?
Yes, I am. I'm ready for whatever. Bring it on. Like, if you can get through COVID, you can get through anything.
Like, you better stop. I'm coming down to Florida because we might get on a roller coaster or something together. I'm telling you. Yeah. My daughter wanted to go to school in Florida. She went to look at Florida State. Mm-hmm. Florida State and FAMU.
Yeah.
And she's like, Mom, she said, all these kids back and forth, because Florida, one of them was like 40,000. The other was like, what is FAMU, like 10?
Yeah, it might be a little bigger now, but yeah. And they're right across the tracks from one another. It's crazy.
Yeah. So I looked at my ex-husband, because my ex-husband went with us on the trip. I said, I can't handle it, so she can't handle it. I don't know if I want to go with all these students. But now, guess what school she went to?
Where?
NC State, with almost 50,000 students. So it was,
my God.
So it was the same as if she had gone to Florida State and FAMU, which, once again, like you said, if somebody wants that homier setting, they can get it. If they want that big city setting, they can get it. They have options. They can go back and forth and take classes and stuff like that. It probably would have been a great opportunity for my daughter, like I said, because she really liked that area. But I didn't know if she could handle, I didn't know if she could handle all those students. But she wound up going in. She went to a small school. North Carolina A&T, a smaller school, North Carolina A&T. And after a year, she transferred to a big, I think the largest university in the state of North Carolina.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, there's definitely a difference. It's crazy to see that. FAMU and Florida State, and then Tallahassee Community College is one that I think it is the biggest community college in Florida.
Wow.
So, like, Tallahassee Community College and Florida State they merged. They're on one side, and then you got FAMU right across the railroad tracks. So you get it all right here. One of my friends used to play at Florida State and said he was at FAMU's campus all the time because that's where the action was, and it felt like home. He felt that small town, he belonged there, other than big time Power 5. So yeah, Tallahassee is a great college town. Yeah,
it was phenomenal when we went there. Like I said, it was, and my son loved Florida A&M. We have a picture of him on the campus in front of that. That big plaque that you walk in front of? It's like a big plaque that says Florida A&M. It's the brick one. Okay. Yep. So we have a picture of him in front of that because he loved the campus. He loved everything about it. So, but once again, Shalon, you are phenomenal. I thank you so much for your time. I thank you so much for giving these seeds of insight and knowledge to, once again, like I said, students who are on campus who may be challenged with big city, small hometown lifestyle, transitioning through cultures, et cetera. I wish you lots of luck in the upcoming season.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me too. I love that we were able to have this conversation. Hopefully we touched some young people out there and we're able to help them out.
Yes. Fingers crossed. I would cross my toes, but they hurt my shoes when I cross them. So I'm just gonna cross my fingers for today.
Go fingers then. That's fine.
Thank you, Shalon.
Yes.
I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.